Right. Welcome back to yet another series as we continue looking at Unit 2, Human Values, Ethics, and Professionalism. So far, all the 5 series that we have looked at, we have seen how human values are important, especially as it pertains to us teachers who are entrusted to actually teach the students that put on our charge, right? So we continue now with part 6 of our discussion. And in part 6, we're going to look at professionalism. And this is the last series in our in Unit 2 of human values, ethics, and professionalism. Now, what is professionalism? We know that we have always been using this term in a loose manner. Term professionalism, I'm a teacher by profession, I'm a doctor by profession. So a profession is actually said to be a type of job that requires specialized training and qualifications in performing the required activities, basically to earn a living. So you become a profession in one way or the other, acquire those skills that you are trained for, perform them, and in most cases, if not all, it's for earning a living. It can be whether you are doing it on your own because you didn't want to join a company or a government, you are doing it, as long as you are earning a living as a result of the training that you went through, then you are a profession in that field. So the Oxford Dictionary gives two definitions to this particular concept. It suggests that it's a job that needs training and formal education. It is also a body of people that are engaged in a type of job. There are other related terms, as business, career, craft, employment, job, line of work, occupation, trade, and vocation. All these are synonyms of what we commonly know as profession. So here, an occupation or employment may be undertaken just to earn a living, whether the person is skilled in the job or not. But, you know, when we talk about a profession, it is defined, as we have defined earlier on, it needs formal training and qualification. So in general, a professional brings a fairly high status to a person. For example, engineers, you train as an engineer, you train as a medical doctor, as a lawyer, as a teacher, as a serviceman, as an administrator, corporate governance person. All these are types of professions that we actually have. So let's look at closely, what are some of the small nitty-gritties that identifies a profession? When you look at you and your work, what is it that I should be able to see so that I say that, okay, this person is a profession in that field of study? So a profession is said to be a disciplined group of individuals, according to ACP 2004 on page 1, a group of individuals who adhere to ethical standards and who hold themselves out as and are accepted by the public as possessing special knowledge and skills in a widely recognized body of learning derived from research, from education, from training at a high level, and who are prepared to apply this knowledge and exercise these skills in the interest of others. Now, take note that these tend to be brief characteristics of what a profession entails. Disciplined group of individuals, right? Even as we relate these aspects to the teaching profession, you know that teaching is a discipline And in most cases, you are not the only one. There are several people who belong to that discipline, right? You have ethical standards. I know that the teaching council has ethical standards that they have established for you. For all teachers, it's not only teachers in Southern Province or Eastern or Northern, but it's teachers, every teacher who teaches even government schools and private schools, right? Specialized knowledge. This suggests that as a teacher, you have special knowledge that you are trained for, that you are able to impart to your clients, something that another profession cannot actually do. Not only knowledge, but you have skills. The skills that nurses have for their nursing profession differ from those that teachers actually have. You have a recognized body of learning. And that's why we have teacher training colleges. When I see a poster going, indicating Kasama Teachers College, I know this is where teachers are actually trained, right? And most of what is actually, what we are actually trained there is as a result of some body of knowledge, you know, some body of knowledge of some kind, right? And in most cases, it's at the highest level. So you cannot be learning things that are grade 10 and 11 and 12 just because you're going to teach those classes, but you learn things that are beyond that, right? And who are prepared to apply this knowledge. So you apply whatever knowledge that you would have learned in your training, and you exercise these skills. And in all cases, all these activities that we are talking about here are done in the interest of others. Whether you are doing your own business using your profession that you generated, it is for the interest of others. So whatever may be the field of the profession, as we have indicated, in its true sense, it is a privilege, ladies and gentlemen, a privilege that is given to you to serve people. Now, at one point, Mahatma Gandhi suggested that a customer gives the profession an opportunity to serve him, right? So this privilege of service entails in him a professional responsibility. You must be responsible for what you are doing. It requires social commitment and resolution to protect the dignity and the honor of that particular profession. And that's why you have guidelines on how to behave. So of the professions that are actually cited, it would be very interesting to note that teaching is that profession which requires creativity. It requires judgment to develop new processes, new products, new procedures that would increase the standards way by which learners learn in a given society. So you know that when you get in class, you are meeting students from diverse situations. And so it leaves you room to be creative and judgmental so that you know how you're going to approach each of those minds in a classroom. So there are some definitions of a teacher and teaching. Before we go straight on recognizing how teaching is a profession, let's first of all define what is teaching and what is a teacher. Now, a teacher is a person with an accurate and specific ability, a specific intuition, a specific education, experiences, skills, knowledge, and also qualifications that enable him to teach a specific subject or a number of subjects. It is also suggested that a teacher is a skilled person who helps students to acquire knowledge, competence, and value. Remember, the definition says helping to acquire. It does not say who imparts. You help learners acquire knowledge and competence and the virtues. Remember the virtues that we have discussed, that even as we portray them, display them as teachers, we must inculcate them in the learners also. What about teaching? What is teaching? Teaching is intimate interact, where you interact between a more mature personality and a less mature one, which is designed to further the education of the learner. Now, teaching can be conceptualized as a form of problem solving and decision making, which has many properties in common with the work of physicians. So whatever activities that a physician would do in a hospital situation can actually be transferred into the activities that teachers actually do. They also diagnose, they prescribe, they treat in a classroom situation. So the work, science, and profession of a teacher is what teaching is defined to be. A study that was carried out by researchers to just find out from teachers what it is that makes them be satisfied with teaching and what makes them dissatisfied. And these are some of the results that came out. Among the satisfiers that they actually indicated that were common for all were that ultimately they are satisfied because teaching is autonomous, is being valued by all, is being trusted, is being listened to, time for learning and teaching and planning, collegiality, how to mingle with others, initiative, creativity, contact with the students, scope for innovation and experiment. And these are some of the issues that actually they came up with as reasons for how satisfied they are. But they also mentioned that sometimes they tend to be dissatisfied for reasons such as teaching being challenging, feeling of not being in control, lack of time, isolation from colleagues, prescribed or inflexible, curriculum where you are not given an opportunity to teach what you want, but you teach what is actually prescribed. Bureaucracy, testing, others don't like testing students, policy initiative overload, pressure to meet targets, lack of parental support, poor student behavior, and even stress. So you see that even as teaching is a profession, it has satisfiers and dissatisfiers that may motivate or demotivate teachers that are teaching. What then are the attributes of a profession? In short, we are talking about the characteristics. Others talk about attributes, others talk about characteristics. Now, among the attributes of a profession are that number one, it is knowledge-based. So simply put, it works, the works involving skills of sophisticated nature, theoretical knowledge, judgment, all these need formal education, including technical, humanistic, and ethical studies. And that's why we are doing this course. Continuous education and knowledge and updating also is actually required. So even when you are done with this degree, upgrade, continue with your education, go for your master's, go for your PhD, and then you suit to be a highly qualified professional. The other attribute is organization. Take note that organizations controlled by professionals, like, for instance, we have the Teaching Council of Zambia, TCZ, who play a key role in setting up standards, quality standards, ethical codes of conduct for teachers. Hence, the profession needs personnel capable of all these activities, as it were. Public good, that's another attribute. The profession serves significant aspects of public good by the development of processes and products, and also in general ethical decision. By public good is that whatever activity and initiative, innovation that we do as teachers, it may be going for school, we are doing that for public good, for the benefit of other people, as it were. Who then is a professional teacher? Now, the term profession is an adjective, has meanings such as competence. If you check through the dictionary, it talks about relating to or belonging to a profession, skilled in a particular activity. Now, as a noun, professionals have the following meanings. A person, a professional person, is a person engaged in an activity as a paid employee rather than an amateur. A person very skilled in a particular activity. Professionalism is the derivative term in terms of the abstract noun, which is defined as the ability or the skill expected of a professional. Now, all these attributes are in line with who a professional teacher should be. Sometimes we talk about occupations, that person's occupation is teaching. How does it relate to professionalism? Now, though we have used these terms, occupation and profession, in similar contexts so far, what is clearly coming out is that we may have to distinguish all these as any job, right? Occupation is any job undertaken, whether the person has skills in that particular job or not. For a long time in Zambia, I know we were using untrained teachers. People who never trained, but because they completed high school, they will be given classes to teach. We may as well call that as an occupation, not a profession. Because a profession needs a good amount of skills acquired, as we explained, in issues of skills, knowledge, and attributes that are needed of a teacher. So here are the characteristics according to Kiram. A variety of people have talked about a number of them. Characteristics of a profession according to Kiram 2014. He talks about entering into a profession as requiring an extensive amount and period of training, which shall be of intellectual character. And that's why you take time, 4 years, doing a lot of courses, write exams, you do research papers, right? Just to make you become a professional. A professional skill and knowledge are based on theory. And when they have gotten the theory, then they go out in the field there to practice it. A professional skill and knowledge are vital to the well-being of the society, right? Another characteristics, professionals have a commitment to do public good, and I think we have looked at all these aspects. They usually have the monopoly or near monopoly on the provisions of the professional activities. So when you are at school situation, you are not told what to do because you already know. No parent will come and say, this is what you should do, teacher. No, you have the monopoly. According to the provision of the professional services you are doing, you have the monopoly to make decisions based on someone's child in a school. They usually have an unusual degree of autonomy in the workplace. They are regulated by ethical standards. There are standards, procedures, that have been formulated by the teaching council, the do's and the don'ts, so that when you go against them, then you are punished for that. They have a significant degree of self-regulatory, okay? So those are the characteristics. Kerry 2018 also gave what he calls the core characteristics of medieval learned professions. And according to him, he says today's professions are occupations that offer effective expert assistance to society. And these include that they require extensive training, they have a significant intellectual component, they provide an important service to society. They are organized into associations. I know that when you are in teaching, if you are a musician, there is Music Association of Zambia. If you are in languages, English Association of Zambia. If religious education, and it's all, right? So it's just a way of bringing together professionals in that field of study so that they can share ideas about how to improve it, articulate technical and ethical standards of competent professional practice. These are the core characteristics that actually he mentions. Formal professions such as law and medicine, he says, also have credentialing credentialing or licensing requirements that limit who may engage in a particular profession practice. As a result, bona fide members of the profession enjoy it. And this is what we do in Zambia. You register first, you pay fees, some fees, you register as a teacher, you are given a certificate, and then you are accredited, right? Another certificate. So the monopoly on the market of the expert services, formal professions such as law and medicine also occupy this. So you're an expert in your own right. Extensive self-governance in determining the technical and ethical standards of competent professional practice. Sometimes those people who make those standards for teachers actually may have been teachers for a long time, and they know what it is that they need to do. Now, MacBeat 2012 also called what he called criteria of professionalism, which include theoretical knowledge and concomitant skills. These are professionals assume to have extensive knowledge, theoretical knowledge, and also deriving from that skills that are exercised in practice. High quality pre-service academic and professional preparation, where professions require at least 3 to 4 years academic accreditation plus professional induction, together with requirements to demonstrate professional competence in your workplace. And that's why people take time to monitor your teaching and all that. Legal recognition and professional closure is where we register and then accredited as teachers. This is legal and is enshrined in some aspects of the Constitution. Induction, a period of induction and a trainee role in prerequisite of being recognized is a full member. Remember, when you join the teaching profession for 6 months, they will observe you. That's the induction period. And then when they are satisfied, then they are going to confirm you. Professional association, like we have said, you belong to various associations that may be football, it may be languages because you belong there. Work autonomy, professionals retain control over their work and also have control of their own theoretical knowledge. And in this they do as researchers to improve their way of life. Code of professional conduct or ethics. It is said that professional bodies usually have codes of conduct that we have seen, or ethics for their members, and disciplinary procedures for those who actually infringe the rules. And you will see this in the last unit of our course. Self-regulation. Professional bodies are self-regulating and independent from the government. Public service and tourism services provided are for the public good and altruistic in nature. So basically, these are the criteria that actually he mentions of being a profession. Some would call them the characteristics of a profession. Authority and legitimate. Professions have clear, legitimate, over some activities, but also add legitimate to a wide range of related activities, inaccessible and indeterminable, indeterminance, board of knowledge. The board of knowledge skills are relatively inaccessible to those who may not belong to that particular profession. So, if a profession is nursing, one of the things that you may not do as a teacher, because you are not a nurse, is injecting, and vice versa. There are activities that teachers actually perform that lawyers and teachers and nurses may not actually perform. There is the issue of mobility also. Skills, knowledge, and authority belong to professionals as individuals, not the organization for which they actually work. And as they move, they take their talents with them. All right. So standardization of professional training and procedures enhance such mobility. So by this, we mean that so in one way or the other, you become a professional as an individual, not as a group, because you can be transferred from one school to the other, no matter how much you are needed at that particular school. Okay. So what are the models of professional roles? Now, the profession of teaching is aimed at doing public good. That should actually sink into our minds. Our profession as teachers is aimed at doing public good. not for ourselves. So there are different interpretations as to what public good is. And also different concepts exist as to how teachers contribute to it, to this public good. So, however, we can also say that we can make this statement simpler by expecting teachers to play the following role. These are some of the roles that teachers actually play, so that now we can treat them to be contributors of the public good. Number one, teachers are said to be saviors. How? Because they hold the key to create a utopian society, a society that is free from poverty, a society that is free from inefficiency, from waste and ignorance. And the question would be, how do we create a society free from poverty? Isn't they say that actually education can eliminate poverty? Okay. Teachers are also regarded as guardians. Even if they cannot create a utopian society, they know the direction and the pace at which it can be almost achieved. Hence, they may be given positions of authority based on their expertise. That is, teachers as guardians in their contribution to public good. As bureaucratic civil servants, the proper role of teachers is to receive and translate the directions of the management into concrete achievements. This follows the concept of professionalism as employees, right? So your job is to implement government policy, and that's why you belong to the government of the day. As social servants, the role of teachers may, of course, be in obedient civic service to the organization. But the true master is the society. This follows the concept of professionalism as independence, right? As social enablers and catalysts, this is a combination of the above. Here, teachers are neither servants nor masters of any. Why? Because you are game players. So the ultimate power and authority may lie with the management. But you as teachers, you play a vital role, active role, beyond mere compliance of orders. So you don't just receive instructions even over wrong things because it's a head. You have to question. Sometimes teachers are needed to act as mediators between the management and society. And sometimes you make them understand their own needs, and you make informed decisions about desirable ends and means of the economic, social, and technological development, right? Okay, so basically those are what we can talk about professionalism. So there are 7 social sins that we need to remind ourselves with, even as we get into continue being teachers in our profession. There are 7 social sins that Mahatma Gandhi actually established there. The first one, he talks about politics without principles, right? Remember, we have a civic duty to educate and also to participate in the world politics. But then, even as we practice politics, we must practice politics without principles. When we practice politics without principles, then we are going against the 7 social aspects of life. So the 7 social sins include when you are political without principles, wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, science without humanity, and biblically speaking, worship without sacrifice. These he mentions as the 7 social sins, as it were, right? Then there are also what Aristotle calls the golden mean of virtues. Remember, we have been talking about virtues. In his book, Nicomachean Ethics, he defined virtues as acquired habits or traits that enable us to engage actively as human beings, like courage, truthfulness, generosity, friendliness. We dealt with this in details in previous discussions. So this, according to Aristotle, is the golden mean He propounded that these virtues, if acquired, they can make a person involved in all rational activities in an effective manner. Okay? And so moral virtues help a person to follow and to practice social goods without his community or his group. Right? And I know that in Unit 1, we discussed in detail what morality is all about. We will not waste so much time in that. I just wanted to mention here that it has a direct connotation, direct relationship with the virtues that we have been discussing about, right? And also the fact that these moral, the fact that if an action or a principle is to be considered as morally right, then there should be some moral reasons supporting it, right? Connected to the virtues. These moral reasons may include respecting others, respecting the rights of others, avoiding creating unnecessary problems for others, showing gratitude to others, and also encouraging them to actually work. So these are very, very important, even as we relate morality to the virtues and to spirituality, as we have actually discussed in our previous discussion. So basically, this table shows that morality is different from ethics in so many ways. It shows the difference in morality and ethics. And if you look at this, it talks about, morality talks about more general and prescriptive based on customs and tradition, while ethics is specific and descriptive. Morality is concerned with the results of wrong action when done. Ethics is more concerned with the results of the right action when it is not done. Morality's thrust is in judgment and punishment in the name of God or by laws. Ethics thrust is on influence, education, training, through codes, guidance, and connection. Morality, in case of conflict between the two, morality is given top priority because the damage is more. It is more common and basic. While, when we talk about, ethics, it is less conscious, serious. It's hence second priority only, less common, but relevant today because of complex interaction in the modern society. There are examples of what morality is. We're talking about character, fraud, corruption, extortion, and crime are examples of immoral activities. While ethics examples are notions and beliefs about manners, tastes, customs, and also, towards laws, as it were. Why and where do morals actually, moral problems arise? First, it is due to their ignorance, poor knowledge, poor workmanship, poor management, which may not be exactly classified as moral. The second may be passing off unsafe or lower quality products under pressure against their own consciousness just because the boss says, just pass it on. As long as the boss says do, then we do. The third is due to intentional passing poor products for self-benefit or corruption or bribery. This may sometimes be done only to do good to the company without self-benefit at the cost of the customers or in general in society, right? So the last part of our discussion is, what is the status of teaching in Zambia? And I'll quickly move to suggest that the teaching profession in Zambia has many setbacks, and notable among them is how these members of society look upon the profession. Sometimes teachers may have lost respect because maybe of how we are regarded. So the nature of the problems runs as follows. The teachers are key elements in the development of any society as we know it, as education is. But the problem is that the status of teachers remain very low. Teachers are looked upon by society as downtrodden, individuals who are at least in the strata of society. What is the cause of this and how can the problem be remediated? Are questions that you need to ask even as you grow in your teaching profession. And you know that historically teaching profession was a noble, or was of noble origin. Very long time ago, teachers were regarded as top members in society. Knowledge they possess enabled them to be regarded as such. History has it that teachers had been at the service of kings. They served the kings and they served the rulers of world ancient kingdoms of Greece, Asia, and Europe. Now, the service they rendered as transmitters of knowledge made them to be very noble. And also in old Greece, Spartan and Athenian societies, teachers were employed not only to teach their lawyers, but also to offer military and political advice. You see how the teaching fraternity emanated from. By then, teachers were handled with care as uncooked eggs in someone's hand. The teacher at the beginning of Zambian education system was also of noble origin. Our forefathers, our fathers, and our grandfathers would tell you that teachers had great respect, were respected during those days. But when the British introduced the formal education system in what is today Zambia through missionaries, the then teachers were of higher standards with the self-government. Teachers continue to enjoy the pride of their predecessors that they had in the ancient times during colonialism. But there are factors that may be responsible for the failing standards of teaching in Zambia and in many other places. Number one is the number of teachers compared with other professions in Zambia. This is very, very large. So to take care of them and give them what they need may be difficult. Recruitment of teachers and how to meet the teachers' requirement of free education. We just recruit sometimes the coming into profession of many unqualified teachers. Lack of strong unionism to press for teacher status. How do you press for teachers' status when you have 20 unions fighting for the same thing? Poor salary for teachers as a result of government policies and large number of employed teachers. Teachers themselves have a poor self-image of themselves. They don't believe in themselves. Deplorable conditions of service. Government made teachers to be in. Poor performance of teachers due to some factors that may actually have been stated here. So these are basically the factors that may be responsible. You can add some of your own, but these are some of the identifiable factors that may be responsible for the falling, all right, standard status of teaching in Zambia and many other places. So I want you to look through in online. Find there's a document by UNESCO and International Labour Organization on the position on status of the teacher. So it spells out the teacher's discipline, rights, responsibilities, and privileges that teachers have. And you'll see a lot of explanation on this document has more than 124 recommendations that covers guiding principles, educational objectives and policies, preparation for the profession, further education for teacher, employment and career, rights and responsibilities of teachers, conditions for effective teaching and learning, teacher salaries and social security and others. So these are the benchmarks that all education systems in the world in terms of teacher education actually get their drawings from. This is where they draw their programs in order to come up with the teacher programs and the like. Right, so basically, this is the end of Unit 2 on human values, ethics, and professionalism. And I hope you got enough of what you needed as an individual and as a teacher to make yourself available for the service of others. And I wish you well. Thank you so much.